Okay, we are recording. So, uh, I'm gonna do an intro video in post about the Punk Bordello podcast since this is the first one. So, I'll basically just announce it from here and punch in and whatnot.
Right on.
Just like disclaimer about the show and what I'm trying to do, and just a brief one. There'll also be like a welcome message on the header of you know where the podcast is going. So bear with me here.
Don't worry about it.
Anyway, so
This is the
let me
first
welcome
one,
our
right?
guests. Say again.
Oh, so this is your first podcast, right? Like the first.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
cool.
And I'm not really like a podcaster. I'm just pretty much like a musician, like
Yeah,
performing musician. So, you know, just trying to like step into a different role here and kind of, you know,
I know the
just
feeling
do
completely.
something that I know I want to see done, if that makes any kind of sense.
Oh yeah.
So, getting started here. Let's see. Got all kinds of messages coming in here. Anyway, Punk Bordello podcast, episode 1. Paul Ramirez. Um, Tell us about your band. Tell us about your life. And what are you doing now, as well as where do you hope to go?
All right.
So let's start
Um.
with your background.
All right. All right. So I've been performing in Chicago since I want to say 2013. Um,
2013.
I formed my band, the Bannermen, in 2014. Um, and I like to consider us the nerdiest band in Chicago. You've kind of sampled my album, and you kind of know that more than half the songs are like popular fiction related, whether it's comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, and whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, growing up, my three passions were music, comic books, and football. And
Yeah.
genetically, I was never inclined to be in the NFL. So after that, it's like, all right, I'm just going to focus on the other two. And so
Hmm.
music and comic books have pretty much been my life. And so yeah, so I like writing about stuff that I like. I can't remember the guy that said it, but it was some musician that said it. It was like write what you feel, write what you know, that kind of thing. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, I know about comic books, I know about
Yeah.
popular fiction or
So I
some.
actually didn't. I actually didn't know that. So I came in like completely blind, listening to your album,
Okay.
and I mean, I just got lost. I One of my favorite things to do is just like clean around the house and then like blast some music. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just routine everyday kind of stuff that everybody has to do anyway.
Right on.
And no, I had a good time with your album. I was a couple of key moments and climaxes there where it like really made the hairs stick up on my arms.
Oh
So
really?
I want to say thank you for making music in general because it's I mean I genuinely connected with it. It was really good. Um, and specifically the song was it Whiskey Over Wine?
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
So could you tell me about that? Could you tell me a little bit about how the last album in 2018 was created?
okay.
Like
um
where
so
go through
it's
so tell me what your favorites are, but absolutely please get to Whiskey Over Wine at
all
some
right.
point because that was my
So
favorite.
so we haven't really released a lot of music. Since forming the band, we've had uh you know some setbacks as far as like lineup changes. So when we formed back in 2014, the original five, um, three of us remain. But with the other two that left, we were able to find good replacements. So there was always 5 of us in the lineup. It's just the lineup's changed. But when the people that leave are also songwriters, it's like they kind of took their songs with them, and which is fine, because in the music scene, there's rarely ever people that you meet where they're only in one band, like
Yeah.
my co-lead singer, she's in like 3 different bands. The
Yeah.
drummer that we have now is in 2 different bands. So like, you
100%.
know, that's just the way things are. And when
Yeah.
one of their projects get busy, like I'm not going to fault them for it. I'm going to support them. And whenever they perform,
Yeah.
I do go support them whenever I can. And so that kind of put a lot of pressure on me to be the main songwriter, or in today's case, the only songwriter. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I miss the collaborative process, but at the same time, when I do finish a song and the other people bring what they can to it, it's I'm in general happy with the finished product when everybody adds to my song.
Right.
And so
Right. Of course.
and I think I'd like to think that I rose to the challenge of being the songwriter. Now, granted, I wish I was a more efficient songwriter, as in like the fact that we've been together for more than a decade, but we only have one album. That's just on me. I gotta write more. But
I feel you. But I mean, I'm sure you get lost with like, teaching like that is primarily what you do with
yeah.
your time, is that correct?
Well, prior to the pandemic, I used to do physical therapy,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
that took a lot of. And so there were times where I would literally write a song at work, and then finish it when I get home, and then present it to the band.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
then
Yeah.
uh, but then since the pandemic, I wrote a few songs that we haven't recorded yet, which eventually we will do. I've been tinkering with the idea of, instead of releasing a full like 11-song album, just kind of release, songs in like small bursts, so we were planning on doing like a little 3-song release, and then like somewhere along the way another 3,
Yeah.
because
I
the recording process takes
yeah,
time.
100. Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. And it's really hard to like meet the constant like demands of what releasing in today's, you know, economy,
Yeah,
sorry, music economy.
and it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap, it's not easy. It's time consuming if you want to put love into your music. And especially if you want to do it from a place of authenticity. Of course, you can make a hit song on an iPhone with not that much extra stuff put in, it's I mean, everybody has their process, everybody has their ways, but there is something quite nice about like naturally miking up a drum kit and miking up your guitars and just doing it the old-fashioned way, even if you are kind of like in a digital age. At least that's how I like to try to
Mhm.
do it. Still multi-track recording, so I guess we're like doing it the way they would have did it in the 90s, early 2000s, but it's not. It's there's so many different ways to do it, and a lot of them take less and less effort. So I mean, now it's just kind of about putting it together and seeing it in your head, and you know, it for me personally, like it comes to uh when I'm trying to uh kind of put off doing every element of it myself, like programming the drums or playing the drums. I mean, that's what I do for some of my projects. Part of my background is that I've been a multi instrumentalist for since I was like 6, 7 years old. So I've done a lot of stuff by myself. The last album is all by myself, but up until now, I'm kind of like now that we have like a live band and we're comfortable playing in that kind of like space, I'm kind of giving off the reins of my uh, project to the live band. I'm my bass player Sammy, my drummer Brad, and because I feel like personally that uh, are better for the music like that. It just they think of shit that I wouldn't have thought of. You know what I mean? So like that's my big struggle is kind of like just like, yeah, okay. So I don't have to work on this. It's got guitar, it's got lyrics. We can leave it off from there and then just pass it off to them. So everybody has their struggles. Everybody has their methods of how to get things done because as artists and creatives a lot of times it is very difficult to like, especially deadlines are like the enemy of most like creatives.
Hmm.
So when you try to slap like a deadline on it and like say no, it has to be released, and that is just understanding that that is just like the beginning of a life to a song, um is it's it's a lot to process and it's a lot to do. But anyway, uh, I want to thank everybody who is watching right now, and I want to mention that I I set the next release for May 6th. The song is called Hotter. And you can listen to that for 3 times for free on Bandcamp for $5, and then the next song that is set to release to all streaming platforms after that is "Take the L," and that would be $10 if you wanted to buy it now or pay whatever you want for it. As the dates draw near, as we advance further and further on down the line. Um, we're just going to keep those two increments 5 and 10 as we release more and more of my album Chicago Style Rock and Roll. uh anyway, back here with Paul Ramirez, and so the Bannerman is you said most of the characters, most of the songs are based off of comic book characters, correct?
A lot of the songs, and not necessarily comic books. Like, I mean, so a lot of the fan favorites would be like Iron Fist and Juggernaut, both of which are Marvel Comics characters. Um, Even though I wrote those songs a long time ago, like every time, like let's say I show up to like an open mic, um, there's that expectation, like, hey Paul, are you gonna do Iron Fist? I'm like, sure, why not, or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
um, but it's just one of those things where, like I said, you write what you know, you write what you feel. I wrote about Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh,
I wrote a
yes,
song through his
nice.
point of view.
Yes,
Um,
that is so sick.
let's see. I wrote a song about Groot
Yeah,
from Guardians of the Galaxy.
yeah.
Um, but then like, but also, and then the title track of the album, Ice or Fire, that's a Game of Thrones reference. Um,
Ah, okay,
the,
all right.
the Song of
Love
Ice and
it.
Fire novels,
Okay.
and throughout the entire song are the book titles for every book that George Martin either has written already or has yet to finish. So so when you listen to Ice or Fire, I think that was one of the songs that when we were emailing with each other, you were like, that's one of the songs that I liked in particular. And when
Wonderful.
you
So
listen to the lyrics of that, it's like the
I'm
book titles
I'm
are there.
so I'm curious. Let's give a shout out to like the names on that record because honestly, I was listening to it and I had to come back and keep coming back for more. uh, I was really taken aback because you say that you're like, hey, I want to start this podcast, and then like you, people just hop on and are filling up the dates on the form, and uh, I just didn't. I got taken aback at like how much talent there is in Chicago, and I feel like that is something that uh, I have. In former years, I didn't really take. I kind of took that for granted. when I was growing up, I moved to Austin. I moved back, toured across the country and everything, as a hired gun and that whole deal. Um,
Nice.
but one of the things that I think is central about that is that so much it's all the passion that we put into it, and what I heard on that record was passion. And I wanted to ask you, so who's doing what on this record? Who's playing?
So at the time, the lineup that I had when we recorded the album, it was myself and I'm one of the lead vocalists, and I also play guitar.
Mhm,
My friend Annie Kelchner, she played. She's also she's I would consider her the co-lead singer because she and I trade off lines and we trade off harmonies.
mhm.
And it's one of those things where when you find that right singer who literally shares a brain with you,
Mm,
like those are hard to come by.
yeah.
Um, Matt Winstead on bass. I've known him for years. I actually met him at the Old Town School of Folk Music when we signed up for a group class back in 2010, I think. And that class was dedicated to like just 8 weeks of just playing music from the Who. And if you know the Who, it's like they have that legendary bass player John Entwistle. And when I heard him play, Punk and the Godfather, like note for note, it's like, okay, if and when I ever start a band, I want him in it. And
Yeah.
so after that class, we exchanged info. It's like, when I need you, will you be available? He's like, yeah. So when I started the band, he was the first person I contacted. Um, Javier Escalante, he was playing lead guitar. He was, I believe, our one, two, fourth lead guitarist at the time.
Mm.
So, like, remember when I said, we had some lineup changes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so insert Javier. But I, but yeah, he's really good at what he does. He's in a couple of other bands as well. And then Scott Paith, he was the drummer. He's our second drummer. So he's no longer with us. He started drumming with other projects. I'm like, cool, do it,
Yeah.
But yeah, he's really good at what he does. I think he's drumming for a jazz band now, which is great. It's like, if you can play jazz, you can play anything, right? So
Yeah. Yep.
um,
That is. I
so
would agree with that.
yeah, and so 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 that was the lineup for when we recorded that album. Um, but yeah, going back to some of the songs. So we were talking about Ice or Fire,
Hmm.
which is a play off of A Song of Ice and Fire series of novels.
Right.
Yeah, but then intermingled amongst all the nerdy stuff, there's other songs that are a little bit more introspective about life and whatnot. So like, I got some songs about some relationship drama, like Before I Find Peace, or the song It's Over.
Hmm.
Um, some songs that one of the songs I just needed to release my angst, So like Friendly Faces, it's about fake friends and gatekeepers. Um,
Yeah.
Drive Away, that's one of the songs that I wrote where I was just really angry at some of my coworkers,
I
and
know what
I
that's
wrote that at work.
like.
Uh,
uh,
Whiskey Over Wine, I had to throw in some of my R&B chops because that's what I grew up listening to back in the '90s.
uh-huh.
And yeah, Whiskey Over Wine, is essentially I wrote about one of my former collaborators. Like, have you ever met a musician where you play off each other very well, but you see some red flags, but you try to look past those red flags because you work together really well.
Yeah.
And then when you get to know that person, it's like, I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I went through some similar stuff. I was able to get through it. Let me help you.
Yeah.
But, you know, when that person surrounds, I don't want to out anybody, but like, like when you surround yourself with yes men rather than friends,
Hmm.
enablers,
Yeah.
it's like they're only gonna feed off of that negativity,
Yeah.
um, and so that song was inspired by a former collaborator. Like some of the lyrics of Whiskey Over Wine, it's like, I understand you, yes I do. Never let your darkness through. The sun will always shine. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I wish that we were able to do more together, but you know,
Yeah.
I had to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
Um, and so
Yeah.
yeah, so Whiskey Over Wine, that was geared towards my former collaborator,
I see.
and that was separate from the Bannermen. Um, that was more of like kind of like an acoustic duo. Um, I wrote separate songs for that group or duo. Well, we're a group, more than one. That's a group, right?
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I wish that went a little bit further, but it had to stop, and so I was sad when it stopped. But then
Yeah.
that just meant I could pay more attention to the Bannermen. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, that's for the best. I know what that's like. I mean, I we've had our own fair share of kind of indifferences in the band and like different creative directions that different people wanted to take. And at the end of the day, I mean, what this project is in my life is just kind of a fusion of like the three core communities of Chicago that seem so different from each other, but in reality can come together in both, not just in a genre, but also like walks of life. At the end of the day, I hate talking about politics because I mean I turn to like music and media and that sort of thing to get away from politics because it's always fucking something. Um, and I really just want to show people that we're more alike than we are different. And I mean, not everybody, everybody else at different points in time had different feelings about where we should go or what we should say, and then personal feelings get involved. Arguments are had, and then months and months later, apologies are given. And that's just kind of like another way of life. But it's I know what you mean by having to cut it off and having to move forward with the project and also with your life. And I think uh, it's it's difficult, but it's necessary if you want to. I think as kind of like a representation of life, both as an artist and as a creative, as a human. Um, Being able to kind of let the past be the past and move on and say, no, I'm doing this way, and this is kind of the way it needs to be, unfortunately. Because at the end of the day, like, I if you're the one doing the work and moving it forward, then I mean you're the one that is kind of making sure that the rest of the world gets a chance to hear it. And so kind of like separating your ego from the betterment of the project is kind of always at play. It's always a game of balance, just as anything is in life. um you know just the way of being a musician. uh
yeah,
but so what is the next thing that you would like to advertise? Like what could the listeners, anybody who's watching via video, hello, um what could they come to expect from the Bannermen? What could they come to expect from you? I mean, would you like to promo any kind of like teaching? You want to give anybody any kind of like information on where to find you, and seek you out for lessons, or uh, whatever you're releasing next. What have you got for us?
Okay. Well, the Bannerman. I mentioned before we were in the middle of recording just a little 3-song release. We still have to finish that, but just a matter of time and money. Um, so
Yeah.
so that's going to happen eventually. But since the pandemic, I've been essentially just doing music full time. I stopped doing physical therapy.
Wonderful.
I started out. One of my friends, Phil Circle, he's been a Chicago mainstay for a good number of years. He was actually one of the first musician friends that I met when I first started performing.
Hmm.
He opened up a music school in Wicker Park, and he brought me on as a voice coach. And
Right on. Okay.
somewhere down the line, he ended up moving to Los Angeles, and he wanted to keep the Chicago school open, but he couldn't do it by himself. And so he
Right.
brought on me and the bass teacher, Michelle Van Leeuwen, um, as co-owners. And
Okay.
so yeah, me and Michelle, we rose to the challenge, and we kept that school open for, I want to say, 2 years now. Um,
Wonderful.
Phil still runs the online store from Los Angeles, and he also teaches in Los Angeles. So he's still a partner with us in Chicago, just not physically in Chicago.
Hmm.
Um, we're a music school, so Phil Circle Music you can find in Wicker Park. We're in the third floor of the Flatiron Building, um, and we're a music school that's geared more towards teaching adults.
Okay.
Um, Not that we're going to reject kids, high schoolers, or whatever, but
Mm.
we our primary focus is teaching adults. Um, and We do host events. So like every first Friday. So yeah, tomorrow is going to be first Friday. We host open mics. Um, the Flatiron Building is an arts building, and so every first Friday, whatever artist in residence decides to put on a display for the public,
Mhm.
the building is open from 6 to 10, where people can just kind of walk in and look at the exhibits. Because some of the people in the building also host events too, so we take that opportunity to just like, hey, we're hosting an open mic, come by, hang out. Um,
Wonderful. That's cool. That
and
is
then Yeah, go on. Sorry.
oh, no, I was just saying that's real cool. That's sick. Do go on. Do go on.
Yeah. And so with that open mic, because it's an arts building, we don't have a liquor license, but there are places to go if you do want to, get liquored up or whatnot. Just do it outside of the building. um, but but yeah, we formed a pretty good community. I've actually gotten a few students to sign up just from hosting those open mics. Um,
Wonderful.
and we also host another open mic that we call a feedback open mic. And the feedback
Okay.
open mic is geared towards the novice performer who needs some coaching. And so that is it's kind of like free coaching, but not necessarily like, I want to learn guitar and I'm going to get a free lesson. That's not what the feedback open mic is. The feedback open mic is literally, okay, I got some songs that I want to try. I've never performed live. Let's see about performing, and get some coaching along the way just for that performance. And I was able to help out, a few people as far as like okay, projection, rhythm, little things like that, breath control. Um, but it's not the traditional open mic where you show up, play your 3 songs, and then leave. The
Right.
feedback is open to everybody. So if you're a novice performer and you see another novice performer, it's like I'm not just coaching the person that just performed. Whatever I say to that person can also apply to the spectator.
Okay.
At the same time, the spectator is also allowed to say, "Hey, I like what you did there,"
Hmm.
um, because we never know who's going to be coming through that. The feedback open mic is also not just for the novice, but also for somebody who's like, okay, it's been some years since I performed. I got to dust off some chops, like I got some rust I got to work off. Let's use this as a warm up. Okay, that works too. Um,
Okay.
because sometimes when I get somebody like that, I could see the rust, you know.
Yeah.
Or if they have like a really really good song, but it's like okay, something was a little bit off, I could maybe point that out, unless it was, you know. And then of course we clarify whether or not it was accidental or if it was actually meant to be, And if it was meant to
Yeah.
be, it's like okay, I kind of remind them that's like you never know who's going to be in the audience. You might just have somebody who's just there to have a good time, or it could just be or it could be somebody like recruiting future bandmates, and they're secretly
Yeah.
judging you, you know. And so, uh, and so then there's that thing of like, okay, some people like the person who's recruiting bandmates, they might have a trained ear. If they
Yeah.
hear something a little bit off, it's like, okay, maybe I might not want that person in my band. And
Mhm.
so then,
Yeah.
uh, so I kind of get into it, not in a negative way, but it's more of like with these feedback open mics, I always come from a place of this is what you do well and this is what you can do better. And so, I try to build a person up rather than tear them down.
Yeah, and that's I feel like every artist really definitely needs that. Every artist definitely needs somebody who is able to check them and kind of give them instruction on, like the how, as well as you know where they're trying to go with it. Uh it is definitely like a hurdle in your career. You know how like I think somebody once told me that it's like the 10,000 hour rule. You do something for 10,000 hours altogether, then you're you get it's like a certain level of mastery. Um and then I think the equivalent with music is something like 1 to 200 songs, which I mean I surpassed yours. But no, also the person that checks me in my life is actually my girlfriend that I live with. She is in a band called The Hangovers. Uh, and I'm not trying to get into that whole thing, but that's she's got like a full blown music degree, and she's you know
Mhm.
uh kind of. I mean, when she was learning, she was learning under the drummer for Nine Inch Nails.
Ooh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, so I won't get into that now, but that's just who like checks me in my life. And she's been singing all of her life. And sometimes I'm just like, no, 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 I promise you it was intentional. But other times she'll check me and I'm like, you know what, nah, girl, you're actually right. Okay, all right. Yeah, okay, all right, maybe that needs to be a little different. I got to do that
Mhm.
again, maybe, this, that, and the third. But
Yeah. And I
um
understand like there's like not everybody like knows what their weaknesses are.
yeah.
Um and like, you know, I'm one of those people that kind of obsess over my weaknesses,
Yeah.
like I know that there's something that I need to get better at, I'm going to do it. And
Yeah.
not
Absolutely.
everybody's like that. Some
Yeah,
people need that push.
yeah. I well, see, the thing is that like most people would rather sit in what's comfortable rather than challenge themselves to kind of, dare to be weird, dare to, learn the rules so you can break them, and just kind of, stand out. And that's the hardest thing is like giving yourself a way to fit in but also stand out, because if you make yourself too weird, then you're too niche. But, if you have uh a certain kind of like relatable style for the market that you're trying to reach, then you
Mhm.
really truly have something there. At least as far as, I mean, I can see, but who the fuck am I? I'm nobody. You know what I'm saying? So, but I mean, the thing is that, I mean, I think the most liberating thing is, it's also kind of the reason why I started the podcast up again, because somebody reminded me, like, oh, nobody fucking cares about this, about that, about your music, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you know what? Isn't that like kind of liberating? Because like then I can do something like this. You know what I'm saying? And talk to you about your music, because the reality is that that's actually not true, because like once you accept that nobody cares, then you do something that you end up making people care about. You know what I mean? And what I wanted to do here personally was just give kind of like a platform for any general musician to talk about what they're working on, talking about what they're excited about, what they have coming out, and whatever shows they need to promote, that whole deal as well. Um, but also just kind of like talk about the random nuances in your life and your music that most people would think nobody gives a shit about. But I mean, you think about like who you were as a fan, and you would love to know how a Guns N' Roses song came together. You would love to know how a um Pink Floyd song came together. You would love to know how a fucking Limp Bizkit song came together. Corn, whatever, whatever flavor floats your goat. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I actually do. I romanticize those little details, and I'm asking you these questions because I give a fuck. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And the fun. I don't know. I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking I had my coffee. I was on my porch, and I was just like, you know, that guy was right but wrong at the same time, because yeah, nobody cares until they do.
Mhm.
And that's the most beautiful part about it, is that you just start talking about the shit, you speak it into existence, and if it's time, it happens. And the other thing is just like being consistent and doing what you can to get your music out there, but also kind of give what keeps on giving. Speaking to your time as a teacher, I'm not gonna say I don't have the patience to be a teacher, but I kind of forgot what it's like to be a beginner. So I'm like, what? You don't get this?
Well,
Maybe that makes me an asshole. I don't know,
no,
but
no, no, no. It does take a lot of patience. But I also studied music, albeit a bit briefly. Yeah, my first major in college was music. Um, Coming out of high school, I didn't really know what kind of work that would entail, but I do remember taking private lessons when I was in high school, and so like when you have the like I joined the choir, and my choir director was like, "Hey, Paul, I need to take voice lessons." I'm like, "All right, cool." So they literally just got like an outside voice teacher to come to the high school, and like whatever person is taking voice lessons, they could be like that person could probably see like 30 students a day, and it's just a conveyor belt. It's like, okay, half hour, okay, next half hour, okay, next half hour, and I was one of those half hours. And
Mhm.
so we would go through the motions, okay, practice these scales, practice these breathing exercises, go through the practice song, okay, next one, and then, you know, repeat the process in that next half hour block. Now, I
Right.
appreciated all those lessons that I did, but, as far as like figuring out why those were important, um, that would have been good to know. And so I
Mhm.
had to figure that out on my own. And then even when I was in college, I had a vocal scholarship. Um, I continued my voice lessons in college, and it's the same thing. They got a voice teacher there. There's like that person would see anywhere between 30 to 50 people a day,
Mhm.
and or like maybe I could be exaggerating, I don't know, but still, that person would just have a conveyor belt of students. Same thing. It wasn't until I started studying music to realize, like, those vocal scalings, those are melodies. And then I
Mhm.
started listening to, delving into like every song that I've ever listened to, and it's like, that's a major scale, that's a minor scale. That little riff that singer did, that's a blues scale, you know. And so
Yeah.
like when you start, you know, uh, recognizing that all scales are melodies, then that just adds to the importance of why we do those. Um,
Yeah.
then like, and then when I started delving more into music theory, um, you recognize the relationship between chord progression and melodies, and why
Right.
certain songs have certain chord progressions and why that melody works. And when you
Right.
realize that relationship, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, this is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
It's not just killing time, it's you're learning why things work the way they do. And so
And
I make
if I
sure
if
that
I
all of the students. Oh yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to add on to what you're saying and say that like once you see it in one thing, you see it in all things. And
Mm-hmm.
like I always say that like music is the relationship between consonance and dissonance. That was a line given to me when I was in music theory courses back in school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, the more you think about it, the more I mean, I've never seen a better way to make something so complex, so simple, just like that. And from there, it's like that was kind of like the jumping off point of where I started to record some stuff that I really genuinely believed was like the my opus. Like even if I never fucking amounted to shit, I would still look back at that and say that is the best thing that I've ever done. You know what I mean? And I mean, sometimes art is like that. Like, I mean, do you think fucking Da Vinci stood back after painting the Mona Lisa and was like, "Fuck, I did that." You know what I mean? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, obviously it was a work in progress. You're talking about like a longer timetable. I mean, depending on the level of inspiration when it strikes. I've had some songs sit kind of like in the back burner of my mind for like years before I fucking reached back out for it and put lyrics to it and then fucking actually got it out there. Um, but then there are those other songs that you fucking just what I mean, lickety split, like it's done in a day kind of shit, and I it's just another great metaphor for life, like how fast it comes together sometimes, how slow, how long you have to wait in between finding what the words say to a particular place. I mean, like there's this one song I wrote called Scumbag Olympics. It's part of like my metalcore project that I released under my name, Del Jones. This one right here, not this one, but this one. Music under both names right here.
Mm-hmm.
But so Scumbag, I came up with that when I was like 15 years old. That pretty much the entire structure of the song has remained the same. It's just I never had the words up until after I toured and got fucked over real hard because I was just a young hopeful, you know what I mean? And yeah, I learned that shit the hard way. Now we know how to invoice like a big boy. It's okay. It happens to the best of us type shit. Uh but yeah, so it's the relationship between consonance and dissonance, the open kind of like question, the answer, the call, the response. um and just to note, the 2018 album from the Bannermen that y'all recorded was absolute, like you did that perfectly. Like I honestly think like that it needs more attention, needs more eyes on it, because like for real, like the climax in Iron and Wine especially, like you really do kind of embody what we were talking about in shaping that just kind of feeling that it just kind of tugs at your heart, tugs at your soul. And thank you for bringing it into the fucking world. If nobody has told you that at a show before, man, like thank you, because I actually really did connect to your music.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
so where can people find you?
So I sent you a link tree that has pretty much all the socials. The Bannermen are streaming on the typical platforms, so think Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. You can also download our albums through some of those links.
Do you guys do anything with Bandcamp at all?
Um, we have, but like I think one of my former bandmates was the one that was running the band camp. But then like when that person left, like I guess they forgot to give me that info, and I'm still waiting on that info.
Okay, so the best way that
We
people
haven't
can
really done
support
anything
you
on Bandcamp. I think one of our early releases, kind of like a prelude to Ice or Fire, I think is on Bandcamp. Um, but yeah, that one's called Prologue, and that was just some of the songs in Prologue were re-recorded for Ice or Fire. But you can find Prologue on Bandcamp, but I gotta make sure I have like I said, I gotta contact some of my old bandmates. But apart from Bandcamp, we are on the other streaming platforms, and we're also on the major social media. So think Facebook, Instagram.
uh-huh.
We do have a Twitter account, but we don't really use it.
I feel like I honestly, PunkBordello is kind of the same way.
Yeah,
I feel like everybody just kind of abandoned Twitter because there was too many like
yeah.
corporate sponsorships and fucking like I don't know. I just saw too many things unrelated to anything I gave a shit about. Like it's nothing good in my feed. It was all like advertisements. I think that's kind of when a social media has kind of taken taken its last breath, and when all you see on it is fucking ads. Um, Sometimes I definitely feel that kind of way about YouTube as well, but then again, it is still the way it all goes. However,
YouTube is a whole nother mess. I like YouTube, but I also hate YouTube. Um,
right,
I've all right. So the new or newish social media platform is TikTok, and I
right,
happen to really like TikTok. I've gotten more views on TikTok in 2 years than I have on YouTube in like 10 years. Um,
yeah,
it's
that
just
that that is kind
you
of
know,
because YouTube kind of
and so
they demand so much more, and it's really hard to fit that when you're also focused on making quality audio and like
yeah,
very personal and authentic audio. And like it's just it I feel like when your goal is like music creation, you know, they kind of left the audio file, the person that's obsessed with like um just strictly the music and audio side of it, like, out of the equation. And it shifted over to, like, only video. And it's like, that's all great, but, like, not everybody is into that. And I guess what becomes the trade-off there is using AI to cut out, like, normal visual artists out of the equation. And then, well, that's not right either, because all things it's just this big fucking mess when it comes down to it. But that's another point to a credit as to why I wanted to start this podcast, is because uh, I don't see anything just for audiophiles out there, and one of the ways that I consume media most is when I get tired of fucking listening to music, be it my own shit or, anything in the set list, anything, because I just kind of keep it going till I hate it, and then I listen to a couple podcasts for a while, and then I go back to living my daily life, going to work, or fucking whatchamacallit, doing the dishes, doing chores, sort of thing, and listen to podcasts. And I really am glad that I got to take the time to sit down with you and pick your brain for a little while and talk about the Bannermen and that record, because I really did thoroughly enjoy it. I
Nice.
saved it. I listen on Apple Music because it pays us a little bit more. I hate
Nice.
to
Cool.
shout out Spotify, but if you want to find,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah, if you want to, yeah, I
As
appreciate
artists,
it.
we'd like to get paid for what we do, right?
Right,
So,
like you would hope. Like, I have this one song that I just wrote recently, and it opens up with so you want to be a rock star, but you don't know that they took your power away.
yeah.
And that's like, such is true, because unfortunately, I feel like musicians we have such a genuine and raw love for what we do that a good lot of talented musicians are willing to just give it all away for free. And unfortunately, no, it doesn't end up getting heard is far and wide, as if you put a little bit of strategy behind it, you care about it a little bit more, both in its official digital life once you first release a song, all the way on down to when you play it live, when it's a regular in the set list, and on down the line. So if you want to listen to Dale Jones, that's my metalcore project. Go listen to a couple of things I've already done so far. If you want to listen to PunkBordello, the big cheese, if you will, we've got Hotter that you can listen to on Bandcamp for $3 or pay what you want, or sorry, $5 or pay what you want, and then Take the L that would otherwise come out in June for $10 or pay what you want. And welcome. We want to thank Paul Ramirez for coming on the show and telling us about his records that you can find on Spotify under the Bannermen, or you can also find them on Apple Music if you want to give them a little bit more cheese. Fucking corny, dude. It's okay. I'm with it. I can laugh at myself. I'm not mad at it. But
I'd like to
thanks.
think I'd like to think I'm a shameless promoter, because whenever the band does get busy, I go, I try to explore all avenues. So,
Yeah, and do you have any more performances upcoming that people could
nothing major. It's more of just like, since doing music full time, I just kind of take gigs where I can get them. And so a lot of those gigs are essentially just like, restaurant gigs where I'm just killing time for a couple of hours.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily promote those as Bannerman shows, because they're not,
Right. Yeah.
I'm literally just, okay, I got this amount of time to kill, and let's just hope these people enjoy themselves as I'm killing it. And so,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't really, you know, I mean, as far as like money goes, right? It's like
Yeah.
original music really doesn't pay much, you know?
Yeah,
Like you go
unfortunately.
there, like you're usually paid by head, and
Yeah.
that is pretty much reliant on, okay, are the people that said they were going to go to your show, are they actually going to go to your show, And so
Yeah.
when they do, great. And when only like five of them do, it's like it's better than nothing,
Yeah, or if
um
there's like a built-in crowd, I would say if there's a
yeah,
built-in
which
crowd
is
and they
rare.
give you like a flat guarantee, that's the way the good Lord intended it. We need to
Yeah,
promote
that
more
that's,
just
that's
bottom
rare
line
though.
guarantees because at the end of the day, I mean that was always kind of like the social contract between promoter and
Yeah,
artist was like, hey, we'll give you a crowd and a venue to play if you have solid content that will keep asses shaking and and drinks being had.
yeah.
uh and
Those places are usually reserved for cover bands, which I'm not
yeah,
opposed to, by
and
the way.
see, I feel like the reason why is because unfortunately I honestly feel like there was a little bit of a fall off and they like the reins got taken over by cover bands because I mean,
Well,
we
they
we didn't have a gatekeeper.
yeah,
So, like, because you got, like, original bands just, thinking they can go up there, do whatever, just fucking, like, rap on top of their fucking, track with their fucking studio vocals not even muted out. It's literally just the same fucking Spotify song, you know what I mean, that they're just fucking yelling on top of,
mhm.
then, that it kind of dilutes the entire experience for everybody and I mean when you couple that with if it's not trending enough to have like a certain kind of clout that is very unstable and very not sustainable, uh it it that it is what it is. But like you see that entire like crowd kind of shift over into like the EDM space where like they don't even care about like traditional like song structure. It's really just like, you know, they have a fucking DJ going on there and like
Well, I mean, there's a
then
time
there's
and
that
place for
whole
this,
other world of like people just knob
Yeah.
spinning where they're really just playing a fucking track on their iPod. And it's like,
There's a time and place
like
for that. Like you don't
it
go to like
sucks
a music
because, like,
venue
that's
for that.
they're
You go to like a
they're
dance
there
club
for
for
the
that,
lubs, you know what I mean? It's like, you know,
Like
um,
in
that's
Chicago, there's places where they only hire DJs and electronic music because it's more of
yeah,
like a dance place, Whereas,
yeah,
you might not see that at like, let's say, Reggie's or Subterranean, where they have mainly bands, because
yeah,
once again, it's just time and place,
and the other thing is
Like,
that
but
the
if you go to like Soundbar, you're probably not going to see a full band. You're going to see a DJ because
yeah,
Soundbar is like a nightclub,
yeah,
and so um, there's a time and place for people that do electronic music. Um,
yeah.
some of my friends are in that scene, and I've seen them perform. And granted, some of them are kind of boring, but some of them, what they do really well. Um, and so,
I
I'm not
so I
opposed
should
to supporting it, you know.
I should also say that, like, my brother's a DJ in Detroit, and it's nothing against, like, because that's like a different instrument altogether.
Yeah.
Before I just sound like a fucking ignorant turd,
No, no, no,
but
no. Don't worry about it.
no,
Because we're. I
what
think
I
it's safe
meant
to
is
assume
that
that you
like
and I are
there's like
like.
there's genuine musicians in kind of like all of these different worlds. It's just like the way that Chicago has gone is it's gone all towards the house element, and that's one of the like the kind of experiments of what like Punk Bordello is down here is because it's like I wanted to make something that is like primarily kind of like dance music, but also kind of keeps a little bit of the authenticity of punk because um if I can go back to what we said before about like kind of lack of gatekeeping, like there is kind of a reason for like a promoter to kind of gatekeep a venue a little bit because you want to have like quality talent come through and be able to like give people a good experience so they come back for more like
Mhm.
every night. Yeah, this is our regular spot. You know what I mean? And there's value in that. There's a lot of value in that because that's I mean primarily when you get like guarantees like I mean I've been in original bands that have gotten guarantees like that and it's not necessarily difficult to find, but you really have to be willing to kind of go the extra mile to like more like rural kind of spots. And that
Mhm.
is, just the safe haven for art that is just being born is taking it on the road and kind of trying to make those deals in small towns and then work your way into bigger towns. Because anytime I've ever toured to a major city on like a first or second kind of like leg of a first tour of any sorts, it's always empty when you get to the major city because you're competing with too much, you know. So that is kind of like the negative aspect to that. And with Chicago, it's like there is kind of a whole other side because there's the people that care about like local Chicago music and like the punk community and whatever that evolved into from its early days with like Steve Albini and Garbage and the old Chicago punk days. But like the other side of it is like the city doesn't accept you until you're accepted somewhere else, which fucking kind of sucks. But
Yeah, I could see
that's
that.
another point to kind of like just say fuck it and make your music. And honestly, I do gotta say I value your music. I connect to it and I can feel your soul in the words that you're singing, as well as the fellow musicians that helped you create that album. And I really did enjoy having this deep dive into some of the more intellectual aspects of being a musician from your perspective as a teacher. Um, but I want to thank everybody for I want to thank everybody for listening. This is the first episode of the Punk Bordello podcast. Thank you, Paul Ramirez, for being with us. And yeah, we'll catch y'all on the flip side. Take it easy.
All right.
All right. Okay.